One of the biggest days of the Nets offseason is upon us. The NBA schedule has released. We take a deep dive into the Brooklyn Nets 2025-26 schedule and go over everything you need to know on an instant reaction. Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Brooklyn Boys. I am your host, Josh Wolliver, here on this Thursday, August 14th, NBA schedule release date. Just a disclaimer, folks, I am up in Maine right now, and I might be having some spotty internet trouble, so stay with us. If you're experiencing lagging, let me know in the chat. Hopefully, I'm good for you all listening right now. But if at any point I'm not, let me know if I'm laggy or something. That would be very much appreciated. On your way here, smash the like button and hit subscribe. Helps us grow significantly on the channel on our road to 500 subscribers. Looking to hit that before the preseason. We surely can do it. We're less than 70 subscribers away. I think we're at 436 last time I checked. But hey, we got some huge news today in terms of Nets world. The NBA schedule release date, of course, Thursday, August 14th. I've been hyping it up for a while, and we finally have it. Folks, you take your first look. I'll pull it up on screen, walk us through what we need to know. The opener of the season is October 22nd. That's a Wednesday. The Nets will go to Charlotte to play the Hornets in their season opener down in North Carolina. A very winnable game against the Charlotte Hornets. I think the NBA acknowledged that and put those two teams together. And then they'll come home on Friday to play the home opener before against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's a 7:30 tip at the Barclays Center. Connor and I will be in attendance at that game. So if any of you are there and are planning to go to that game, let us know. We'd love to meet up with you. But Hornets season opener in Charlotte, and then the Nets come home after just a one-game road trip to begin the season to face a very tough Cleveland team that was the number one seed in the East last year. So it might not be a pretty home opener for the Brooklyn Nets. That's what I can tell you. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell leading the charge for that Cleveland team, who got upset by the Pacers, who went on to lose in 7 games in the NBA Finals. But this is a damn good Cleveland basketball team. And the Nets are going to have to earn their home opener win. They're gonna have to earn the season open, but boy, are they gonna have to earn that home opener. A very tough game against the Cleveland Cavaliers to begin the Barclays Center slate for the 2025 season. And really, the entire first week or so of the season is going to be really tough. You see, after the Cleveland home opener, Nets have a travel day there on Saturday before they go down to Texas to take on both the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs. They're in a little South Texas back-to-back. So that's 2 more tough games coming out of the gate. After Charlotte, the Nets have a very bumpy road. They go to San Antonio for a 2 p.m. weekend game. And then the next day on no break, the Nets have the first of many back-to-backs as they go to Houston to play the Rockets. So that's 3 games in 4 days right there that are going to be extremely tough for this Nets team, a team that a lot of people are predicting to be in that mid-20s in terms of win total this season. Going to Cleveland and then going to Houston for to Texas for 2 of the best teams in the West. You're talking about Victor Wembanyama and the number 2 overall pick in the draft, Dylan Harper down in San Antonio. You're talking about former pal Kevin Durant and the newly teamed up Rockets down in Houston, obviously with their core as well. Sengun will be coming back off an injury after he played in the playoffs, but he was hurt for a lot of last season. Obviously, you have guys like Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. That is a very tough Houston team, a very tough San Antonio team. And these first 4 games outside of Charlotte, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in Charlotte, but if the Nets get off to an 0-4 start, that's going to be tough, especially after this is a team last year that came out of the gates fiery hot under their first year under head coach Jordi Fernandez, took the Celtics to overtime, played the undefeated Cavaliers down to the final buzzer there within the first few weeks. Pulled off a couple upset wins. So if there's any time uh, in the season to have a rough stretch like this under the Jordy Fernandez coaching staff. Obviously, it was only one season last year, so a small sample size, but history shows that that is a good time to have it because the Nets have been they were extremely hot last year to open up the season, and then after that little mini Texas road trip, the Nets will stay down south to wrap up their October slate, which is only a quick 5 games, little in and out in October. But they'll go to the Atlanta Hawks, or excuse me, they'll come back up to Brooklyn. I read that wrong. That's a home game there against the Hawks to host Trae Young, who knows, could be a free agent next year, could be offered a deal by the Nets next offseason. But a pretty basic home game there against the Hawks. So we'll flip the schedule over to November, which of course starts off with a back-to-back, both at home. So this is 3 and 4 out of the Nets' next 5 home games, including the Hawks, are going to be home games. But you have a back-to-back against Philadelphia and Minnesota. We'll see a lot of Philadelphia, but honestly, I think the later with Philadelphia you see them in the season, probably the better. I bet the injuries are going to catch up to them. Joel Embiid and Paul George, we both know they were only played, a combined 40 games last season. So Philadelphia is probably a team that you want to catch at the end of your slate. But obviously, as a divisional rival and an Eastern Conference foe, you're going to be catching them a lot. You see that the Nets have them twice in that month. And then you have the Pacers on the road, the defending Eastern Conference champs. That'll be a tough one. But without Tyrese Halliburton, without Miles Turner, that could potentially be a winnable game for the Brooklyn Nets here. And then the NBA Cup begins. As you can see, those are the group play games. Then that's in Eastern Conference Group B. Those are all highlighted by gold. So you see that's every Friday night in the month of November, starting with the Detroit Pistons at the home court. Nets have 2 home games that bookmark the ends of their group play, the NBA Emirates Cup. So you play every team within your 5-team division there. So for the Nets and their group, that's the Pistons, the Magic, the Celtics, and the Sixers. So I would say pretty tough draw when you're looking at playoff teams across the board, likely. So the Nets are definitely going to have a tough time. It's not going to be an easy road in that group play, but you open it up against Detroit, against the Pistons, a team that I am extremely high on, and kind of like the Nets, they come into play with a lot of that grit and grind. We'll see a reunion with Dennis Schroeder at the Barclays Center court. And then, of course, on Sunday there, the Nets go to their crosstown rival New York Knicks for the first game of that Brooklyn-Manhattan rivalry against the Knicks. So that, of course, will light up the stage. And that's only, 3 weeks into the season. So these will be two teams trying to get off to hot starts still at the beginning of November. So you got that. You play the Knicks twice in the month of November. And then I kind of like how they space out these games in the month of November. You have the back-to-back to begin the season and the back-to-back to, not the season, the month, and then the back-to-back to end the month. But these are pretty well spaced out games. You're only looking at, in those middle 2 weeks, you're only looking at 3 games. You got 2 rest days before the NBA Group Cup games. So that's actually pretty well thought out. But then, 4 games a week at the top and the bottom of that month in November there. UC might be a little bit of a struggle for this Nets team. That, to be honest, lacks the depth to be going into all these back-to-backs. I'm sure all you guys in the chat, this is an inexperienced Nets team. So the depth is definitely going to be play a very important role on this team. So we'll see who ends up stepping up here. But month of November again, 3 back-to-backs, nothing big except for those Friday group play tournaments. And then the calendar flips to the holiday season. We get to December, and this is where the Nets schedule starts to ease up a little bit. You start seeing the face of a lot of lottery teams here. You host the Charlotte Hornets at home, and then you go to Chicago, back home for Utah and New Orleans. So that's a 4-game stretch, certainly, between December 1st and 6th that you could see the Nets going on a little bit of a run there. You're looking at the 2 teams with the, 3 lottery teams there, or all 4 of them, actually. And then you look at that second week of December, and those are the NBA Cup knockout round playoffs with the finals coming on December 16th. So it's a little bit of variation there. You go from the I think the first game is at the very end of October. I think it's on Halloween, but I don't think the Nets play in that one. So they'll begin the first week of November, their NBA Cup games, and then the championship on the 16th. Look, I don't expect this Nets team to make any noise in the NBA Cup, but if they were, playoffs would be middle of December, and then the Nets close out the new year with, a pretty moderate schedule. You have the Heat and Raptors at home. You go on the road to Philadelphia and Minnesota again. Nets leapfrog Christmas Day and Boxing Day, a little nice 3-day vacation there before you host the Warriors. And then it's quickly into the new year, so the month of December goes by in a snap, especially if you're not in those NBA Cup playoffs. You'll have regular season games either the 11th or the 12th, 14th or the 15th if you're not a playoff team there. So, but the month of December overall goes by pretty fast, and then you flip the calendar to January, and here you are back with some more difficult teams. You have host a slew of Western Conference opponents. You start things off with the Rockets and then the Wizards to begin the month of January. The Nuggets come to town, a pretty big homestand here to begin January. It's 4 out of your first 5 games with the Rockets, Nuggets, Magic, and Clippers all coming to the Barclays Center. But then you look down at the 10th, all of a sudden, you're looking at a big slew of road games from the 11th to the 30th. The Nets only play 3 games at home compared to 1, 2, 3, 5, 9 on the road. So it's going to be a tough stretch for the Nets to begin this new year with not easy opponents at all. The Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Suns twice, the Knicks again, the Clippers again, the Celtics. These are not easy opponents. The Rockets, of course, to begin the month. So immediate reactions on the month of January. This might be one of the harder parts of the schedule for Jordy Fernandez and company to navigate their way through a lot of road games here. The back-to-back start piling up. You see the 1st and 2nd of January, they play on New Year's Day. You got Memphis and the Mavericks, the Bulls, and the Suns sandwiched in the middle there. And then to round out the month, you have the Nuggets and the Jazz. So a lot of tough opponents, a pretty tough look scheduling wise, both on the road and with the back to back. So that'll be very interesting to handle. But look, you're approaching the point in the season where you know how this Nets roster shapes out. You know who's, being an important role player. You're starting to see guys get traded away for assets at the deadline. So who knows? This could be a very different Nets team when it comes to the calendar flipping to the 2026. And you're looking at January, February, March, and you have tough schedules. This Nets team obviously isn't gonna be very good as it is. And the trade deadline approaching, Sean Marks wanted to get some value for some guys on his roster that he can deal to contending teams. He's going to want to do that pretty fast here as January approaches. So a tough schedule all around. And then you might have some key departures. So Nets fans, buckle up for the beginning of 2026. It sure is going to be a ride. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Throw questions, comments, thoughts over there in the chat. I'll get to all of those right after I'm finished with my overall quick reactions. We'll get into more of what are the key points of this schedule over the next couple of days as we dive deep into what this 82-game slate means for the Brooklyn Nets, how they'll be able to traverse it again. Smash like, hit subscribe, only a couple away from 500. Any and all support you guys bring to the channel is so appreciated. I can't thank you enough. I see all you guys loading up your questions in the comments. Keep those coming, seriously. I will get to every last one of your guys' questions. So load those up. Anything related to the Nets, anything related to the NBA schedule release date here on August 14th. We appreciate you tuning into the program. All of that is accepted and more. It is February, the shortest month of the year with the All-Star break sandwiched in between, so there's not a ton of action for this Brooklyn Nets team. You see, it is headlined by Luka Doncic and LeBron James coming to town on the 3rd. That'll be very interesting. Last year at the Barclays, that was fresh off the Luka trade, but LeBron got injured just a couple days before, so we did not get to see him in action. I was in attendance, didn't get to see LeBron play there. But the year before, man, LeBron lit up the Barclays Center with 40 plus on a 3-point shooting fiesta as the Lakers crushed the Nets. But no LeBron meant the Nets got to sneak in and swoop up a win from the title contending Lakers last season. So that was very interesting. And then again, a lot of things could go a lot of different ways in February. You have teams like the Wizards, the Bulls, and maybe a weak Pacers team, but then you also have the Pistons, the Lakers, the Magic. So that's going to be tough. And then you hit the All Star break for just about a week long schedule, and then the schedule makers decide to turn it to hell. The Nets go on the road with probably the most gruesome back to back of the season with the Cavs, followed by, the defending champ Oklahoma City Thunder team. Look, the Nets will be well rested. At least that's what I can say. But that is going to be extremely tough. Two of the teams favored in either conference to make the NBA Finals. That's going to be a doozy of a back to back right there. Cavs followed by Thunder with no travel day in between, both on the road. Then you head down to Atlanta before coming back home for two against Texas teams. And I said that Cavs and Thunder was going to be one of the harder back to backs. How about Spurs and Celtics? That's not easy either. The Celtics without Jason Tatum, who knows, but they for sure are still going to be a very high seed in the East. I'm extremely high on the Spurs after a pretty disappointing injury-plagued year for San Antonio, but I think they bounce back this season, and that is also a very tough back-to-back. So the Thursday, Friday back-to-backs in February, you're looking at two of the harder ones all season. But let's see. It's the All-Star break, so this team will be well-rested. They'll have basically everybody as a go, hopefully, as long as there's no serious injuries. And who knows, maybe the Nets will be sending some guys off to LA for the 2026 All-Star game. We saw Cam Johnson compete in the three-point shooting contest last year. Could Michael Porter Jr. possibly be a candidate for that? Obviously, the two traded for each other this offseason, so that'll be something to keep tabs on. All-Star watch for the Nets as the middle of the month of February. Smash the like, hit subscribe here on the Brooklyn Boys Live schedule reaction, August 14th. It's the depth of the offseason, so honestly, if you're a Net fan in the building here, we know how loyal you are. We appreciate all of your support, even sticking with us through the depths of the offseason, but the schedule reaction, something to put a smile on Nets fans' face. So everyone in the building here, you truly mean a ton. And then the season begins to wind down. You have a full slate in March, but then you only get 6 games in the month of April as the schedule comes to an end. 82 is up, and teams, probably not the Brooklyn Nets, begin to make playoff pushes and pack up to begin the NBA 2026 playoffs. But we got to start at the top of the calendar. In March, you got the Cavs and then the Heat twice. You have a lot of home games here in the month of March. Pistons and then a back-to-back with Memphis and Detroit. So you play the Heat twice in a row there to begin March. You play the Pistons. Who knows if this Nets team is playing for something at this point here in the season? They very well could just be playing for lottery odds and have everything out the window. So I'm guessing this is a very different roster than what we see right now with the Brooklyn Nets by the time the middle of March rolls around. So you're looking at a tough slate here, a very long and lengthy West Coast trip, a full week there to end out March with the Kings, the Blazers back to back, the Warriors, and the Lakers. So that's a tough West Coast road trip against 3 great opponents. come home for the Kings and Hornets to round out March. But again, very interesting schedule in March. You got a lot of contenders sandwiched together. You have the Cavs, the Pistons, the Thunder, the Knicks, and then the West Coast trip with the Lakers and the Warriors. But you also have winnable games sprinkled in there. The Hawks, a late season matchup with the Sixers, the Portland Trailblazers, twice actually with the Blazers. So there are winnable games there, absolutely. In the month of March, you round out with the Hornets, of course. And then April, the final 6 games of the season. Feels like every month begins with Atlanta. The Nets play them at home, which begins that's in the middle, of a 6-game homestand that ends out the final couple home games at Barclays Center. Reads as follows: the Wizards, the Bucks, the Pacers, and then you go on the road to Milwaukee and finish out with game 82 in Toronto against the Raptors. The Nets have 2 primetime games this year. One of them on MLK Day weekend against the Bulls. So we'll go back to January. Circle your calendar for that on the 16th, 7 p.m. an ESPN game. But that one, I believe, could be flexed. Let me double check that. I think ESPN has the right to swap out another game in there. But let's see about, what kind of the NBA does, because the Nets only have 2 primetime games. The other one's on Peacock, so that might be a little bit inaccessible for some folks. I don't think I have Peacock, so maybe it's on Yes Network, but I kind of doubt it. So that might be the only primetime game some Net fans can watch. So you kind of got to hope it doesn't get flexed out. But again, the Nets only have 2 primetime games, at least as it stands this season. Because, well, the NBA thinks they're going to be just about a 20-win basketball team. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. We'll take a break. Hear a word from our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, and then get into every single one of your questions, comments, thoughts. Load those up now. We'll get back to them. Stay with us here on the Brooklyn Boys Show. Your host, Josh Woolever.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show with your host, Connor Long. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a sub and leave a like. It helps more Nets fans find us. Quick break, then back to talking Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Today's episode of the Brooklyn Boys Show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, located at 137 Main Street in Port Washington, New York. Whether you're chasing the newest hobby boxes, grabbing singles, or just want to talk cards with fellow collectors, Shoreline is the spot. They've got a massive selection across basketball, football, baseball, and more, with new inventory hitting the shelves every single week. If you're local, make sure to stop by the shop at 137 Main Street in Port Washington and check it out for yourself. If you're not in the area, no worries at all. You can still keep up with Shoreline by following them on Instagram, eBay, and whatnot for product drops, live breaks, deals, and hobby updates. All links are right in the description down below. Huge thanks to Shoreline Sports Cards for supporting the show and the Brooklyn Nets community.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show live on YouTube, coming to you from the vacation spot in Maine. So that's why the internet might be a little bit spotty, but we appreciate you all sticking with us here on the show. Smash the like button, hit subscribe on the road to 500 subscribers. Questions, comments, thoughts, those get put in the chat immediately for me to respond to. It's Josh Woolever here on the Brooklyn Boys Show. Appreciate you all tuning in. Let's say what's up to some people in the chat. Pop Sosa, how you doing? Appreciate you tuning in. Jonathan, as always, is in the building. Love to see it. Charlie Adler, how you doing? Appreciate it. And Oran. Appreciate you all in the chat. You guys are the best. Let's start with Pop Sosa, who got in here even before the stream start to get this question in. Should the Nets trade Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton for Kuminga type? The tank is already on. Look, to me, it's getting more likely by the day that Cam Thomas gets traded before this year. I think he feels disrespected by the Nets front office. They have yet to move the needle on getting a deal. So as of right now, if I had to put a bet on it, I hate to say it, but probably the most likely option is Cam Thomas comes to training camp on a qualifying offer and is dealt before he plays a game in the season. Again, that's not how I want things to turn out, but that's how it feels like it's happening more and more. So you package him and a guy like Nick Claxton for Kuminga. The only reason I wouldn't do that is because Nick Claxton's stock is at an all-time low. Look, he had a down year last year. I'll be the first to tell you he was not good. Almost everything went down production-wise, rebounds, blocks. He was not the same person he was when he got that 4-year, $100 million contract. But to me, I'm looking for Nick Claxton to have a big-time bounce-back first half of this NBA season and then get his value raised before the deadline so Sean Marks can get some genuine assets back in return. Trading Nick Claxton right now, look, I'm for it. But the only concern I have is that, I would bank on him becoming a better player, go back to his form 2 years ago, whereas trading him now when his value might be lower. And we know how much Sean Marks likes this team. Likes Nick Claxton. He likes the team, but he likes Nick Claxton, of course, because he's been hesitant to even think about shopping him out. So the most likely scenario to me is that Nick Claxton is on this team to begin the season, but absolutely pop. The tank is on. I think the Nets are taking phone calls for just about any player on this roster right now. I think they're looking to move on from a lot of guys, acquire more assets, and continue the tank after, of course, the 5 first-round picks. Smash like, hit subscribe if you're tuned in here on the show. Follow me on Twitter and on X. You get live updates about the show. Get all my takes on everything to do with the Brooklyn Nets. Also talk a couple of my other favorite sports teams. So right down there at Josh Woolever on Twitter. Appreciate it. Jonathan comes in, one of our best listeners. Appreciate you in the chat, Jonathan. Looking at the Brooklyn Nets schedule, which games are you most excited or worried about? Were you surprised Brooklyn got 2 national games? Most worried about, I can tell you, that Cavs Thunder back-to-back that I talked about, right? Smack dab in the middle of the season. That's going to be tough. That for sure is going to be tough. I'm excited about the opener of the season. The Nets go to Charlotte for a very winnable game against a bad Hornets team. Just can't wait for the NBA season to get underway. So it might be the obvious answer. But both the Charlotte game and then obviously the Cavs game, the home opener, I'll be at. So feels like it's been late. It's been years since the Nets last played meaningful regular season basketball. So I just can't wait. It's just that, Summer League's great. Preseason's great, but that beautiful feeling of a true Nets game being back on, I cannot wait for it. The national TV games, I'm not too surprised. I think they always try and give, even the bad teams just a little bit of run on those national TV schedules. So I think the Nets will probably be in a doubleheader in terms of that Bulls game on ESPN. I know they like to do that a lot. So not surprised too much about that, even though this is a bad team. Of course, the NBA likes to get publicity to every team, so at least their fans can have something to look forward to in a nationally televised game. But excited for the beginning of the season. A couple of those back-to-backs, I'll tell you, will be absolutely brutal. Jonathan comes in again, looking at the report today that Kuminga might be set on wanting out of the Warriors. Is there a possibility or not? Kuminga for Thomas, sign and trade could happen. Look, I think absolutely there's a possibility. This Nets team wants to keep all options open, but to me, this might be the same thing Cam Thomas was doing, at least at the beginning of his negotiation tactics, that, Kuminga could be saying he wants out to try and force this deal to happen a little bit sooner, make sure he's on contract before training camp begins out there in Golden State. But I think absolutely, again, this Nets front office keeps all options open, and Cam Thomas right now, not sure if he wants to play for the Brooklyn Nets this season, so Kuminga could certainly be a replacement option. Jonathan, the Nets don't have as much back-to-backs like Philly does. They have 16, my goodness. That is a lot, but still the back-to-back games for the Nets are brutal, especially OKC and Cavs after the All-Star break. Absolutely, Jonathan. That is that's going to be a tough one, I'll tell you that much, especially both on the road. Who knows what the roster looks like at that point, but at least the team will be well rested. That's the only positive there. Back-to-backs are terrible. I wish they would just get rid of them at this point. I know it's such a struggle for the schedule makers in terms of allocating a travel day every day, where at this point the Nets and almost every NBA team are just bouncing from city to city each and every day. So back-to-backs are bound to happen at this point of where the NBA is at. But you hate to see it. Philly has 16. Wow, I didn't realize that. That's 32 back-to-back games. I was at the infamous second game of a back-to-back under the Jacques Vaughn era against the Bucks, where Javon Carter played 35 minutes it was. I think the starters played a couple possessions for Brooklyn, and then it was all end of the bench guys, because I guess that was Jacques Vaughn testing out a new philosophy. Did not work. The Nets got smoked by the Milwaukee Bucks. But back-to-backs are brutal. I could go on and on, but I'll spare you guys in the chat. Just, Nets have a moderate amount of back-to-backs. I think the most they have in a month is 3. So not unbearable, but, we'll work through it. And something I forgot to mention, on this channel, we will have pre and post games for almost every game of the Brooklyn Nets season, no matter if it is game 7 of the NBA Finals, no matter if it has no significance to this Nets team's playoff aspirations. The Brooklyn boys will be live with pre-games, live with post-games. Asterisk might be except for those late-night West Coast games on the weekdays. Those 10:30 tip-offs might be tough for us. But we will be bringing you probably pre and post games of just about, if I had to put a number on it, 70 to 80 games this season. So your guys' support has made this all possible. We appreciate everything you guys have done for this channel. Again, smash like, hit subscribe, pumps this content out to fellow Nets fans, grows our community, and we appreciate all you guys watching here in the chat. Load up questions, comments, thoughts. Again, if my internet's not the best, I do apologize. On vacation, so can't exactly get the perfect home internet, but we're working with what we've got here on the scheduled day. Michael Porter Jr. is getting a lot of media attention about his outspoken thoughts on his podcast, but can he evolve his skill set this season and improve his big weakness, which is playmaking? Look, Jonathan, I think I'm going to do an MPJ special podcast coming up. There's been a ton coming out about Porter Jr. in these last day or so. He has spoken out about sports gambling, of course, with that whole Jonte Porter allegations thing. So, he's been talking a lot to the media, so there's a ton to break down. I think I'm going to do an entire MPJ episode, but that's the hope, Jonathan. We know he can score, from the outside. We know he can be a three-point shooting threat and shoot close to 40%, but the question is, can he dish it out? Can he spread the love, give his teammates the ball? But look, this is going to be a tough Nets team. Assists don't grow on trees, because even if he's making good looks, there's no guarantee this Nets roster is going to be extremely shaky this season. So you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. So Michael Porter Jr., that's what we're looking for an uptick in. I'm confident he could score 20, 25 a night. Can he be that overall player that the Brooklyn Nets are looking for? Can he take that next step? Is the true question. Let's see. Another one here from Jonathan, asking all the great questions. The most important games for me are the season opener, the home opener against the Cavs, the in-season tournament games, the in-season tournament games, and then the game against the Knicks and the last game of the season. Last game of the season probably isn't going to mean much, Jonathan, just because I'm guessing this Nets team is way out of playoff contention and are just going to be playing for the heck of it and for lottery odds at that point. But of course, you want to end the season on a good note. Look, the Knicks games are going to be extremely important, I think, to every Nets fan. This team has gone very back and forth in their career in the franchise history against the Knicks. They won, I think it was 9 in a row back in that KD, Kyrie, James Harden era against New York. Roles have reversed, sides have flipped. The Knicks have been dominating the series over the past 10 or so matchups. So this Nets and Knicks, these two teams go back and forth all the time, and the pendulum is absolutely in the Knicks' direction. But you love for a little crosstown upset, a little bit of bad blood in between those two teams. So one of my best Nets memories is watching the Nets come back from down 30 at the Garden. Cam Thomas hitting the dagger 3 on the Knicks logo. I loved every second of that. Knicks are obviously going to be a tough one. We know that, unfortunately, a lot of times it's a New York Knicks takeover when they play at the Barclays Center. As much as I hate to admit it, sometimes it's close to 80-20 in terms of fan support for the two sides. So, Nets fans, let's show out at the Barclays Center this game. Heck, let's try and bring ourselves a little presence at Madison Square Garden when the Nets play the Knicks, because it's been a little bit embarrassing since the Nets have been on the decline. A lot of Nets fans I know sell their tickets against the Knicks. They can make some good money, but let's show out to these games at the Barclays Center. But man, those are going to be important games just for crosstown bragging rights for sure, Jonathan. Depending on the Cam Thomas situation, if Michael Porter Jr. is the main option, and depending on resting his back during back-to-back games, it might be super tough for this Nets group to win 15 to 18 games. Jonathan, you're predicting them to be one of the worst in league history. I mean, super tough to win 15 games just sounds so disappointing. I know MPJ, there might be some load management concerns there because he had an injury riddled past. So he's got to stay healthy. He's got to improve the playmaking, but he can't improve his game if he's not on the court, if he's not able to get out there. But we'll see. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's just about, that's the number one thing you can hope for this Nets season is good, healthy players. Even if the Nets team isn't great, you got to hope for a healthy team all around and no gruesome injuries. Reunion with Dennis Schroeder. Look, that's what it is. I mean, I love Dennis Schroeder on the Nets. He was a quality contributor to this squad. But we'll see him in action. We'll see how he responds. I'm sure he'll show a lot of love to his former Nets guys. Definitely pregame. But December is Merry Tank Month. I absolutely love it. I'm quoting that, Jonathan. Merry Tank Month. If you didn't see the December schedule, I'll pull it back up here. But it is, whew. This Nets team at the beginning of December, those are winnable games. So we'll see where this Nets team is in terms of wanting to lose absolutely everything. Of course, Jordi Fernandez is, I'm sure, going to keep this team competitive year-round, no matter what the roster looks like, because, frankly, that's what he gets paid to do. That's why he's looking for his extension, make a bad team, coach him up to be a good team. But, look, that first week of December, if the tank is in full effect, and, boy, the Nets are losing games to some of the worst lottery teams in the league, like Charlotte, like Utah, like New Orleans, man, wow. Absolutely, Jonathan. That could be a pivotal point in terms of the Nets tanking. I would call them aspirations, maybe. Looking at the first half before the trade deadline, this team should be in lottery position, and hopefully some of these vets boost up their value and asset collection mode happens. Absolutely, that's what we're looking for. I think that's going to be a lot of the analysis on some of the post-game shows. Look, are these guys good enough to bring significant trade value to the point that it makes sense for the Nets to deal them? I talked about, Nick Claxton as maybe a guy that needs to build up that trade stock more, because to me, he doesn't present a ton right now. Maybe you get a first-round pick and a salary match for Nick Claxton right now, but I think if he plays up to his standards from just a couple years ago, that could be significantly higher. I'm looking at guys like Terrence Mann, if you can find a team that would need his contract. Of course, Cam Thomas, the number one name on the trade block almost immediately before we even know what's happening with his contract situation. And then there's some other, rotational guys. I could see a guy like Keon Johnson, a veteran at the guard spot, get dealt out. And some roster fringe guys, maybe a team's looking for a spot-up shooter like Tyrese Martin, and maybe they want to take him on for late-round compensation, late second compensation. So that'll all be something we're looking at. I agree. I don't think this Nets team is good at any point throughout the season, and maybe what's it called? Trade deadline, excuse me. I don't know why the heck I was blanking on trade deadline, but maybe pre-trade deadline is the best spot for that to be happening. And the Nets team isn't good. They can sell away some players, get capital, and look for a high lottery pick in terms of the AJ DeBansta Cam Boozer 2026 draft class that has the potential to be more loaded than the 2025 season. Yes, folks, I said it. This 26 class is insane. There are some absolute bangers in this class. Beam Boy 81 comes in and says, "Let's go Knicks." No, Beam Boy, B-Man Boy, is that how I'm saying it? B-Man Boy 81. No, let's go Knicks. This Nets team, I mean, all I can do is root. I can't tell you, and I can't influence how this Nets team plays. But, I sure hope this Nets team does not get season swept by the Knicks. We need at least some sort of bragging rights in terms of the crosstown rivalry, because I'll be the first to admit it, B-Man Boy, this Nets team has been crushed by the Knicks these past couple years. I remember that Randall transition steal and dunk at the Barclays Center, and then Knicks fans in attendance were going wild, and it was just like, man, this is a home game for the Nets. But don't forget, B-Man, the Nets have had the Knicks number quite a couple times throughout those KD days, I mentioned that Cam Thomas, huge comeback. So let's see. We can't say anything yet. We don't know what the rosters will look like or anything, but let's go Nets, baby. Let's freaking go Nets. Oren comes in. We appreciate you tuning in. I hope Clax regains some value because he has been trash lately. Yeah, last season, a big down season, Oren. Claxton, I'm expecting a bounce back year, and frankly, that's how he builds up trade stock. Obviously, this Nets team, despite Sean Marks liking Nick Claxton a lot, we know it. He's been protecting him. When push comes to shove, if they're getting a good offer for Nick Claxton at the deadline, or maybe even early next offseason, and Nick Claxton's having a somewhat good year, Oren, that significantly raises the value, especially to a center-hungry team. So the Nets hopefully can get some good compensation back if they are looking to deal Claxton. I'm looking at Celtics, Memphis, and Lakers, who could be Claxton trade destinations. I was in on the Lakers getting him before they got DeAndre Ayton. To me, I don't think they pay two centers like that unless the Nets are willing to hold on to his salary, which they probably aren't. Memphis could definitely be one as the heir to Steven Adams. And then the Celtics, because they just dealt Porzingis. So Boston could definitely use another big man. So Memphis and Boston, I think, could be two good destinations, Jonathan. Let's see. Good luck, Josh, on this MPJ show, because somebody needs to tell him that NBA is not Love Island. No, he was talking about that he can't have a relationship with a person who has ever dated another NBA player. That's like, he do him, whatever keeps him focused. But let's see, MPJ. I'm interested in your on the court play. I'm interested how you're playing for the Brooklyn Nets, and if you're staying healthy, I really could not care less about what your relationship status is. Let's see. Worst in league history to get AJ Demanston, Darren Pedersen, Cam Boozer, or Nate Ament. Yes. Worst in league history, says Jonathan. I said slightly over on the 20.5 win total. Jonathan is looking for 2009 Charlotte Bobcats level. Yes, they had to change names to the Hornets because they were too embarrassed to live on that legacy of being that bad as the Bobcats. So they had to switch up the entire franchise's name and logo and redesign everything because they were that embarrassed. I hope it doesn't get to that point with the Nets, but you never ever know. Great show. I appreciate the support, Jonathan. You're always in here. Means a ton to me. King Ribby, I believe the Nets will win 81-1 games this season. Yeah, for sure. Only game I see them losing is the NBA Finals Game 7. This is an 81-1 team for sure. King Ribby, appreciate you supporting us. If the Nets go 81-1, man, 73-9, baby. Let's beat the Warriors record. Let's go. Kindest thing you've ever said about Brooklyn. King Ribby, I forget what fan of a team are you? Because definitely not a Nets fan. Let's see. James comes in and says, "How old are you, man? Doing a great job. Don't stop." James, I just turned 15 earlier this summer. I appreciate the support. I can't thank you enough. I think you're new to this chat, but Any and all support is appreciated. I appreciate the kind words. You're the best. Smash the like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. It helps us grow significantly. Be like James. Be a great listener of the show. Let's see. I have 14 wins. Is the lucky number. Lucky number. Where's the luck in that? That seems pretty bad to me. For the Nets won 14 games, man, and they don't win the lottery. I'll go back to this lottery take from a couple weeks ago about how they have to show the ping pong balls on stage. I can't stand it when they just go behind closed doors and draw teams randomly. 14. Wow. This Nets team, I believe in Jordy Fernandez and this coaching staff. They can coach him up to be better than that. But 14 wins, man. That would suck. Let's see. By the way, your pride for the Nets, John King. As a Knicks fan supporting the show, I appreciate it. What can I say? If you're tuned in here, checking in on the Nets, at least you're showing some level of compassion and kindness to your crosstown rivals here. Let's see. James says, I'm new to the chat, yeah, but a consistent LOL. Come in, guys, listen up to the content. James means the absolute world. You're the best. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone here in the chat. We'll wrap up soon here. A couple more of your comments, questions, thoughts related to the Nets, related to the Knicks if you're king, I guess. Even though we're often on different sides, I can't wait till both our teams are on even ground to see who's the best New York team. Yeah, this is not exactly the fairest of years to compare who's the better team between the Nets and the Knicks. I think you take one look at both teams' roster, you're looking at, Yegor Demon, a rookie point guard who's never played an NBA game before. You're looking at who some would consider a big-time lottery draft bust in Zaire Williams starting at the 3, and hopefully a much better Nick Claxton, but who knows, coming off a very down year. An injury-riddled Cam Thomas, who we don't even know if he's going to be the starting 2 on this team, and who steps up after that is the next question. But these teams are not on even ground. You take 3 seconds to look at what each roster has, and you realize that, Jonathan, this is not the year. That's like comparing, and not even apples to oranges. You're comparing apples to a medium rare tomahawk steak. These could not be more polar opposite teams this year, as the Knicks are contending for a championship. Like King will be the first to let you know. Knicks first, but I'm from Brooklyn, so I can't choose. I want a chip. King, are you stuck in the middle? I can help convince you to be a Nets fan. King Ribby RM says he can't choose. Chet, let's get King and convince him to be a Brooklyn Nets fan. How about this, King? You wager your fandom on the first Nets-Knicks meeting. It is at the Garden. I'll pull it up for you. King, whoever wins that game, you got to be a fan of. Knicks first, but I'm from Brooklyn. I can't choose. I want a chip. If you want a chip, go bandwagon on the Knicks. If you want to support your local Brooklyn team and be a part of one of the best sports communities in the world, King, not that hard. Root for your hometown squad. Be a Nets fan. Oh my goodness, I almost said be a Knicks fan. Come on, King. We believe in you. Down under dunker. Who's going to win it all this season? I'm probably. I don't think it's going to be anyone from the East. The East is very weak this year. You're talking about Celtics team, no Tatum. Pacers team, no Halliburton. And so basically, to me, I think the Magic and the Cavs have the 2 best chances in the East. Maybe Milwaukee, but no Dame. Who's going to be that shooter behind Giannis from deep? So the Bucks have concerns for me there. To me, I think this is a pretty easy cakewalk to the finals for Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs, barring any upsets. Or obviously the Knicks are in there too. So I think it's going to be Cavs, Knicks, probably Eastern Conference Final. Maybe the Magic pull a couple strings and upset. I'm high on the Magic compared to other people, but overall, I think it's going to be the winner of the Western Conference. Obviously, the much stronger conference. I'm high on teams like the Lakers, of course. It's probably the obvious choice, but I would say the Nuggets have a good chance. The Mavericks, who knows if they can stay healthy? Who knows what Cooper Flag looks like in his first NBA year? Down Under Dunker says, "Yeah, I like Magic for sure." I think Paolo Banchero takes that next step. Franz Wagner is obviously great again, and the Magic team have a lot to look forward to, but I think it's the winner of the Western Conference Finals. Can't count out the Thunder. They have a really good shot after retaining all three of their stars. I think they spent $800 million over 5 years to retain Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. So they spent the absolute bag this offseason to secure these guys under contract through, I think, 2030. So Thunder are set up for a long, long, long time. They're going to be a good team for a while to come. And then the Houston Rockets with Kevin Durant, I'm really excited to see. That's a relatively, they have a lot of young pieces there that'll go well. You have Asar Thompson, you have Amen Thompson, I think it is. No, it's Asar. It's Asar. You have Jalen Green, who's awesome, and then Kevin Durant, Alpern Sengun. So there's a lot of consistency on this Rockets team. I'm extremely high on them. But overall, winner of the West. If I had to put a name on it, Warriors are also in contention. How could I forget about them? If I had to put a name on it, I would probably go the Lakers. They just got to get consistent center play, and then, man, that team's going to be really scary. But actually, I'm not. I couldn't tell you down under. That's a really good question. But maybe the Nuggets. Maybe the Nuggets, man. Let's see what Jokic has. He cares more about horse racing than basketball, so that's gotta have a little bit of a negative effect there. And then you just lost MPJ, but for a better facilitator in Johnson, you have Murray, of course. A lot of teams, but wow, Spurs are in there for me. Let's go Lakers, just to keep it simple. That will get revised. That is certainly not my final answer, but good question. Down under. Let's see. More to come in the chat. James Maxime got a tank, man. Nothing to be said. Hopefully, we maximize trading for picks and get value on Claxton, man, and the whole team. I'm a little bit afraid that Sean Marks isn't fully here for the rebuild, and is a little bit shy to deal all the pieces he can, get picks for at the deadline. Claxton being one of the guys I could see him wanting to hold on to. But yeah, this is a full tank in my eyes. So anything and anyone out of here to lose games, get more assets, and frankly, it's going to be another dark season for the Brooklyn Nets. But there is light at the end of this tunnel, Nets fans. I assure you, things will get better. This team is not going to be 20 wins for the rest of our lives. Jonathan King Ribby admitted Brooklyn won the Mikal trade long term on a different podcast. That shouldn't be hard for any Knicks fan to admit. I was talking to Knicks fans right after that trade happened, and we had serious Knicks fans telling me, "Oh, Mikal Bridges makes him a title contender. With Anunoby, they need some more defense." Mikal Bridges played good defense. 2 games out of the year? He got that steal at the end of the Celtics game, but what else did he do defensively? He wasn't even good. I mean, 5 first-round picks and a pick swap. That's Kevin Durant deal right there. And I'm Mikal Bridges for a 0-time All-Star. The Nets won that trade by freaking 10 times, man. King, you better admit it. You had better admit that. And any Knicks fan, let's hear straight from the horse's mouth. King comes in exactly. Mikal Bridges would have got 2 firsts and a massive haul of seconds. Absolutely, how I imagine this going down is that Knicks GM calls Sean Marks. Is like, "Yeah, you guys offering Bridges at all? I'll give you 5 firsts and a swap for him." And Sean Marks is like, yeah. Take him. I'll report this to the league office immediately. Like, it could not have been Mikal Bridges is open for trading, and then he got bargained. Sean Marks somehow bargained the Knicks up to 5 first-round picks. I mean, then it's owned the Knicks' future through 2031. So, wow, that's wild on so many levels. King, not everyone wants Claxton gone with him. Your defense, I don't know what that means. Finetto. That's not a word to me. But yeah, Claxton wasn't a great interior defender. That's what I'm looking for Sharp to step up in. Can he be that true center guy and step in as the backup? But he leapfrogged Claxton in terms of efficiency. He played half as much times. grabbed just as many rebounds. All of Claxton's numbers went down last year. All of Sharp's numbers went up this year. So if Sharp can improve with blocks, with anchoring the paint, Daron Sharp is a legitimate weapon for this Nets team, and I'm glad they extended him on a relatively cheap deal. He still has yet to officially sign, but he'll go into training camp. There shouldn't be a problem there. Let me get back up. Let's see, where were we in the chat? Yeah, I think the Magic are going to be good, man. I think they are. Jonathan, how much pressure are the Bucks under to be a playoff team before the trade deadline? And if they are in play-in bracket, does Giannis ask for a trade at the deadline? The Bucks don't do much for me. Like, Giannis is great, but gone are the days in the NBA where championship winning teams are a one-man show. Like, Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't just go out there and mow through the East on his own. So, I think Giannis, honestly, if I'm the Bucks, I would have torn it all down this offseason. You already traded Dame and you're eating 3/4 of that contract after the Achilles, or you waived him, excuse me. You're eating 3/4 of his pay. Portland's practically getting him for free with no hit against the cap, so great deal for the Blazers there. But Dame is going to have to sit up, and Milwaukee's basically paying for his contract. I would tear it all down right now, honestly, Jonathan, if I were the Bucks. I think you get as much value as you can for Giannis. If 5 firsts are Mikal Bridges money, what the heck is Giannis money these days? 5 firsts for Bridges, 1 first for Luka Doncic. I mean, it that will never make sense to me. Literally never. But yeah, I'm selling right now if I'm the Bucks. Absolutely. Let's see. Down under Dunker, who's your MVP pick and most improved? MVP? I honestly thought Jokic was a better all-around player this year. Obviously, you can make, the free throw merchant argument for Shea that all he wanted to do was draw contact, but it takes a skill to still be scoring 30 plus points a night any way you look at it. So Shea was not bad this year, but I think Jokic was the all-around better player. Luka lost a lot of weight, like a lot of weight. That's what Nico Harrison's reason for trading him away from the Mavs was. Maybe you just ask the dude to lose a little, little bump in his body. He did it in a snap for JJ Redick and the Lakers, so he's a front runner for sure. And then I don't think it could be Jalen Brunson, despite what Knicks fans think. That's just a team where you kind of have to spread the ball around. The ball's going to go to a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, whether you want it to or not. And I think what the Knicks do well is they have so many guys that can hurt you in so many ways that you spread the basketball out, and you're going to kill opposing defenses. So to me, Jalen Brunson, is too much. He's sort of in a system where it allows the team to thrive, but not his stats personally. So I think absolutely Jokic could be at it. I think there's a case to be made for Victor Wembanyama. I think him on a fully healthy Spurs team is dangerous. I'll go with Victor Wembanyama as my MVP. Take a little bit of a dark horse there. Most improved? That's a tough one. Most improved for the entire NBA? I could see somebody like a former high pick like Zachary Richardson take that big leap for the Hawks, the former number 1 overall pick. So I'll say him. Let's see if he develops. He's a huge, lengthy guy. If he uses that height to his advantage, and he shoots the 3 ball, so that's the modern NBA forward for you there. I'll go Zachary Richardson. I kind of like that pick. For the Hawks' sake, I hope he develops out because, quite honestly, they got screwed in that draft. That's like the worst draft ever to have the number 1 overall pick. 2 years ago, I'm talking about. So I just hope that pick works out. That would kind of suck if it didn't. He was only like a 10-point scorer last year. Let's see. Honestly, I'm glad Houston gets the best out of the 2 picks. I'm tired of not caring about us winning or not. It will force us to compete at least. James is talking about the Rockets pick swap between them and the Nets. So, but I think the Nets got their draft future back from Houston after that awful James Harden deal to bring him here. but it's full tank mode right now for James. In the 27 draft he's talking about. Okay, so this is nothing to do with this season from James there. But yeah, I'm sure the Nets will try and do whatever they can to be in their own power, but Nets could be a contending team in 2 years, you know? You get solid development from your rookies this year, and then they take that next step next year. You have whoever the highest lottery pick in 26 is likely going to Brooklyn, but let's see. Some of your last questions, comments, thoughts. I was ready to log off 15 minutes ago, but you guys have been awesome in the chat, keeping me here longer. We're at hit an hour on the live stream. Smash the like, hit subscribe. I got 13 of you guys in the building, so I appreciate any and all of your support on the road to 500 subscribers here again. If you're new to the channel, Knicks fan, Net fan, whatever, your support means a ton. Simple, free to do. Like and subscribe helps us grow a ton. Let's see. King says no because we got to see who you all draft in the future because, in my opinion, 5 players in the draft is a horrible draft. Now you got to believe that. Look, King, I'm not a fan of it. Sean Marks should have traded up late lottery. I thought Dioman was a reach. But what I'll tell you is, I don't know. Nets fans, if you watched the next next gen Nets or whatever they call it. They just came out with the first episode of a docu-series about the summer league. Dioman was taking accountability, and I like that. He was the team leader. He looked like the coach in some of the huddles, telling his guys what to do, getting the boys organized, calling out plays, being a good communicator. That's what you need from your facilitator. That's what you need from your point guard. So I like what Dioman showed in the summer league. He's got to continue to prove it, but absolutely, 5 first-round picks. There's zero justification for that. Trade back up for a guy like Kuman Malawach. Trade away Nick Claxton. You have your future 1-2 punch at the center combo. I mean, there was never a reason. You had a sixth of the first round in your hands, and Sean Marks sat back, didn't make any moves to trade up at all. So, didn't like that at all. Let's see. James comes in. Sign Amiri Coffee for the Bucks, so a little better. I don't understand, but I guess he's saying the Bucks signed Amiri. I can't even talk right now. Army Coffee, but overall, it's sell it if you're the Bucks. Sell it for the Bucks, absolutely. Giannis doesn't want to play in Brooklyn with Yegor and Porter. I don't want Giannis right now. Nets need to complete this rebuild. Nets have gone star chasing too many times. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, KD, Kyrie, James Harden. There's too many examples of the record books. The Nets going all in on stars before they were ready to, and over-investing in stuff they didn't need to, but let's see. That's absolutely the hope. King, like, subscribe, share. First time I'll tell you to take a Knicks fan advice, but absolutely, King. Your support means a ton. Great show as always from Jonathan. Appreciate you, Jonathan. You're the best. You're the best. Let's see. Down Under Dunker comes in. Cam Thomas, Claxton, and Mann. +3 first for Giannis. And I'm going that, and they would as well. I think the Bucks are willing to do that for 3 firsts, but I don't want to do it, Down Under. That's three of maybe your 5 starters. I don't want Mann to start, but there's a chance he might by the middle of the season to try and get his trade stock. So that's another thing you got to think about. A very important conversation to have. Do you want to prioritize getting the most you can out of these veterans before you ship them off at the deadline, or do you want to prioritize the development of the 5 first-round rookies you just took? So Down Under Dunker, I'm not a fan of the Giannis situation, but 3 starters, 3 firsts for Giannis. The Bucks are doing that all day. If I'm the Nets, I don't want Giannis right now. He doesn't even make this team a playing team, maybe. Like, Nets are down freaking bad. This is Jonathan in response to Down Under Dunker saying, Thomas Claxton and Mann for Giannis is a very interesting package because if the Nets draft a top 3 prospect, 26 to be a second star, Michael Porter Jr. could be the third option. Interesting. Too early to pull the trigger if I'm Sean Marks right now. Keep the draft capital. Giannis is not a move that needs to happen this offseason, this trade deadline. We'll reassess after this year, but right now is not the point at all to pull the trigger. I would be pissed if the Nets got Giannis personally right now. King comes back. No, Nico moving the Dallas Mavericks to Vegas. That's why they trade Luka, do homework. The league is grimy. No, I know. I understand, King, that I think it's the Dallas owners are pushing for a casino slash resort extravaganza and entire condo development paid for by the city, paid for by anybody but themselves, to be built right outside the uh, United Airlines arena. I just don't think the city of Dallas is interested in spending their taxpayer money there. But I mean, if that's how the Mavericks front office wants to make their message clear, sure, go ahead and trade a generational talent, Luka Doncic, for a first-round pick and an injury-riddled aging star, if that's what you want to do. Cam Thomas wants the ball. He has to up his trade value. His trade value gets significantly higher if he comes back on that 1 year, $6 million qualifying offer as a restricted free agent, because he can get traded for way under the mid-level exception at the deadline, and it makes it easier for teams to fit him in and trade for him, at the deadline or even before then. But Cam Thomas gets what he wants and gets a $30 million contract. That's going to be a tough contract to get other teams to want to invest in, especially if it's long term. Let's see. James says I meant for Bucks discussion for the 3 situation. What are you referring to? I can't tell what you're referring to, James. Clarify in the chat if you want me to respond to that. Down Under Dunker again says Bulls offered Giddey $80 million over 4 years. Are they crazy? Cam Thomas isn't getting anywhere near that if Giddey is getting lowballed as well. That is not lowballing Josh Giddey to me. I mean, I get that he's a solid player all around, but Josh Giddey is not an $80 million guy to me. Chicago's in a pickle right now, though, because they could go either way. I'm high on Kobe White and such, but the Bulls have been mediocre for so long. They're just always in the play-in, can never get over that hump. So Bulls are not in a good spot to me. I would also sell if I'm the Bulls. Like, I get it's a weak Eastern Conference, but man, where are you going to go with this stuff? Trade Vucevic. You get a ton for Vucevic right now. I would, maybe the only guy I keep right there is Kobe White, but yeah, Cam Thomas. I talked about a couple days ago him comparing his contract to guys like Jalen Green getting paid $33.33 million over 4 years. Like, he's not getting that contract from the Nets. Sean Marks isn't budging on that at all. Sean Marks' upper limit is probably closer to $20 million. Cam was thinking about closer to 40 after some of the latest reports. I mean, who knows what's actually happening? We're just getting what the media is getting, but maybe behind closed curtains, they're actually figuring stuff out right now. Who frickin' knows? Hour and 10 into this stream. Last chance. Get questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Appreciate you all tuning in. You guys are the best here on schedule release day 2025 for the Brooklyn Nets. We've just about seen it all, and the Nets off season now in full swing and full depth. We will continue the content, of course, daily. All thanks to you guys smashing like, hitting subscribe, pushing this content out, and growing this community truly means more than you can imagine to me, to Connor, to this entire Brooklyn boys community. I'm Josh Woolever. Follow me on Twitter right down there. It is, if you haven't already. Get live updates on the show when we're going live, scheduled announcements, and all that. Follow the Instagram, by the way. I guess I haven't plugged that enough on the chat. Let me get the Instagram in here real quick. Because we've been growing lately. We've been putting out shorts content and stuff. So I'm going to toss the Instagram link here in the live chat. If you haven't already, hop over to the Instagram. Like up our videos, hit us with a follow. That's also extremely appreciated. Again, all the support across our socials. Follow Connor and I on X/Twitter. The Instagram is right there. I'll pull it up into the chat. But I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. For those of you who stayed from start to finish, from those of you tuning in live, from those of you who tune in after the fact, I know you're there. We appreciate all of your support on the Brooklyn Boys Show. It's NBA schedule release day. We went over all of that. Appreciate your support. We'll be back with another live show tomorrow. You guys are the best. Smash like, hit subscribe, share this with all your friends and family. I am Josh Williver saying so long from the Brooklyn Boys Show, and we'll leave you with one final sign of hope, as we always do. Nets schedule is out. This season is getting closer and closer by the day. Let's go Nets. Good night. Peace out, everybody.